This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Tuesday. You're gonna find out what that news be doing because it's doing a whole lot of shit. The Justice Department is charged to Moss. The Justice Department condemns. We're going to hear from Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden's going to weigh in on the whole Israeli situation. Apparently, he's negotiating for a ceasefire, but it's not with Netanyahu. Anti-Netanyahu protests continue inside of Israel. Divestment protests continue here in the United States. First day of classes at Columbia. The students are right back at it. Speaking of New York, a lot of news out of New York. The FBI has arrested a Kathy Hochul aide, apparently accused of being some kind of a spy. Ketanji Brown Jackson sat down for an interview with CBS News. Trump has pleaded not guilty on a fresh set of January 6th related charges. Fired a New Hampshire campaign staffer that told him that New Hampshire now unwinnable for the Trump campaign. A new biopic is in the works about Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the new Reagan biopic has hit movie theaters. I have no idea what NVIDIA was super natted. Yeah. Had no clue what Nikidia was and why they had been super natted. But it was NVIDIA. What I meant to say, that sounded fucking stupid, was that NVIDIA had been subpoenaed. But somehow on my notes I wrote down that Nikidia had been super natted. I got an update on everyone's favorite mayor, Tiffany Hayward, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, who apparently spent like $5 million of her city's money. We got video of landslides happening in California. A Boko Haram attack killed dozens. A 12-year-old boy was supposed to be sentenced for rioting in the UK, but his mom was at Ibiza, and this apparently infuriated the judge. Covenant shooter in Nashville had their alleged writings leaked to a right-wing outlet. A teen driver hit 140 miles per hour. We apparently have video of at least part of the crash. Ibiza is in like the island party. Ibiza. 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 I've never heard it said before. I've only seen it in print. Here's your meme of the day. Show me the real villain of the 80s. Said the real villain of the 80s. Perfection. Ibiza. Ibiza. Llama, good evening. Ibiza. I don't know. I'm never going to be wealthy enough. Softer Z. Ibiza. I don't think that worked out either. I'm never gonna be wealthy enough to visit it, so fuck it. Where was I at running down where that news be doing, huh? Woman accused of murder posts her video to social media. A couple of co-workers killed each other in a dispute. A sugar daddy website user recognized a murder suspect immediately. The Sunnyside Menace has been apprehended. Cars caught fire during a street takeover in LA. A main bridge was damaged by a Ford F-750. It was a historic wooden bridge in Maine. I got wild footage of a yacht rescue. One of the stars of the show 11... No, hold on. I'm getting the number wrong. One of the stars of the show 1,000 Pound Sister was arrested at a zoo. Yale divinity students apparently had to recite some form of witchcraft. A woman had to leave her house in a towel. Fans are concerned about Rachel Ray. Jeff Bezos hates the phrase work-life balance. I've got video of a school custodian retirement, all that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol. Live. Good evening, fuckers. Llama, good evening. Ibiza. Condoms hummus. What is up, quesadilla?
He condemn.
Welcome in, my friends. Let's get to finding out what that news be doing. Just another day. Only it's not. I believe there have been a mass shooting today in the United States. I don't know it for a fact because I don't have a story about it, but like probably been a mass shooting today in the United States. Hamas has been charged by the DOJ. The DOJ condemns Hamas.
We are following some breaking news. Federal prosecutors have announced new charges against several Hamas leaders. For more on this, CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Skanga joins me now. Nicole, what is the latest? What can you tell us?
Yeah, Major, we are still reading through this.
Don't you dare, Holiday.
Complaint breaking moments ago, but it indicates 6 defendants, all of them part of Hamas's leadership structure. Abu Ibrahim, Mohammed Daif, El Khalid El Daif, Abu Bara, Abu El Walid.
Those sound like made up names. I don't think they're real. She can't fool us. She just made up some Arabic sounding names. This is like the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life. Homeland Security just made up some fucking Arab sounding names and thought these dumbasses will believe it.
Moments ago, but it indicates 6 defendants, all of them part of Hamas's leadership structure. Abu Ibrahim, Mohammed Daif, El Khalid El Daif, Abu Bara, Abu El Walid Ali Baraka, knowingly provided Hamas with material support and resources, including services, property, personnel, all of this part of a conspiracy to murder U.S. nationals, bomb a place of public use, and use a weapon of mass destruction against Americans. There are 7 total charges here. Now, these defendants, they are the former chairman of Hamas's Politburo, the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip since 2017, the commander-in-chief and deputy commander of the Al-Qassam brigades, Hamas's head of national relations abroad. The activity in this complaint dates back to at least 2001, but it includes the atrocities that unfolded on October 7th and everything since. And according to this complaint, at least 43 American citizens were among those murdered, and at least 10 American citizens were taken hostage or remain unaccounted for, of course, on October 7th. Now, it goes on to describe some of the activity by Hamas, saying Hamas terrorists attack civilians, firing handguns, assault rifles, and handheld rocket launchers in a small residential communities. This complaint also saying that during the October 7th massacre, Hamas terrorists weaponized sexual violence against Israeli women, engaging in rape. Hamas also targeting civilian populations with a barrage of rockets and, claiming its fighters fired more than 5,000 such rockets at towns and cities in southern Israel. Of course, this indictment also coming on the heels of the discovery of 6 hostages killed in a Gaza tunnel. And on Monday, hundreds of thousands of Israelis took to the streets demanding the government do more to free others held captive by Hamas. Thousands were also in attendance.
They were protesting the Netanyahu government.
Killed Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, and Attorney General Garland releasing a statement just literally moments ago saying that this weekend we learned that Hamas murdered 6 more hostages, including Goldberg, Poland. He goes on to say the Department of Justice is investigating that murder and each and every one of the brutal murders of Americans, and saying the Department of Justice is going to continue to support an all-of-government effort to bring those Americans still being held hostage home, noting that the charges that were unsealed today are just part of one effort, one aspect of Hamas's operations and DOJ's efforts to go after them. These will not be the last efforts by the Department of Justice. Attorney General Garland saying DOJ has a very long memory.
What a threat. That's what I'm thinking. Like, they could have just made up those names as well. I don't know. I assume the hostages exist. Netanyahu needs a titty slap, though.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
The world is reacting to Netanyahu refusing to back down on the all-out assault on both Gaza and the West Bank, asking for forgiveness for the hostages dying.
Benjamin Netanyahu says he will not give in to growing international pressure, calling for him to come to terms on a ceasefire deal with Hamas. Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets there in Israel, demanding action. These demonstrations erupted following the announcement that another 6 hostages were killed in Gaza. Their bodies have been recovered and returned to Israel. Among the victims was Israeli-American citizen Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. On Monday, his mother gave an emotional speech during his funeral ceremony.
Battle Opossum, good evening.
Over the last 332 days.
Amidst the inexplicable agony, terror, anguish, desperation, and fear, we became absolutely certain that you were coming home to us alive. But it was not to be. Now I no longer have to worry about you.
Oh yeah, holiday. Thank you for confirming it is indeed another day.
While in Gaza, the UN is rushing to distribute polio vaccines to roughly 640,000 children there across the Strip. The World Health Organization says the vaccination effort has already reached more than a quarter of the children targeted in this campaign. Israel has agreed to multiple temporary pauses in fighting, allowing workers to try and stop the spread of the disease. CBS News foreign
Thank goodness for that.
is in Tel Aviv with more on all of this.
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu is really pushing back against massive pressure to agree to a ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas following the killings of 6 captives in Gaza, including 23-year-old Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. Now, this is as tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets for a second night to demand Netanyahu bring an end to the war in Gaza and free the remaining hostages. But in what appeared to be a rare act of contrition, Netanyahu addressed the nation asking for forgiveness, but his tone quickly shifted, saying he would not give in to pressure, and what some are describing as a lecture, insisted Israel must retain control of the Philadelphia corridor. Now, this is a narrow strip of land along Gaza's southern border with Egypt that he says is used to smuggle weapons, an allegation both Egypt and Hamas deny, with Hamas saying there will be no deal unless...
That was the mom of the Goldberg, Poland.
The White House, President Biden said it was clear Netanyahu isn't doing enough to end the war, as thousands gathered in Jerusalem on Monday to say their last goodbyes to Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, whose body was recovered from a Gaza tunnel alongside the remains of the 5 other hostages. Now, initial autopsies found all were shot dead within days of being found. And as the war on Gaza rages on, at least 8 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli strike while they were trying to buy bread. And all of this, of course, is as the UN's campaign to
Yeah,
vaccinate
we don't mention their names over and over again.
against polio.
Comic Girl, good evening.
Still, Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to the nation continues to be criticized.
CBS did a better job of reporting on this than most outlets, but they still, like the 8 Palestinians just wanting to buy bread getting killed is just a throwaway line in the story. While we lionize the Goldberg Poland that died. It's wild.
With the opposition leader Yair Lapid calling it
The
unfounded
bread was Hamas.
that Netanyahu's insistence Israel's security relies on its forces remaining in the Philadelphia corridor has no relation to reality. Errol.
Just
Hey, you were being a freaking follower, Comic
Congressional
Girl.
correspondent Scott McFarlane joins us from the White House with more on this.
I'm convinced Scott McFarlane is a robot.
Says he doesn't think Netanyahu is doing enough to get a hostage deal done, but specifically, what
It's a
more
nice
does
suit,
the White
though.
House want to see from Netanyahu?
That's a great question because that criticism was, to put it mildly, muted or less than declarative. The president was asked if he thinks Netanyahu's doing enough, and he answered with just one word, no, and didn't elaborate beyond that. The pressures on Netanyahu in Israel are not the only pressures he's feeling internationally.
No, that's all he said. What, did he think we just fell out of a coconut tree?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Pressure to either change the trajectory or accelerate the trajectory of these ceasefire and
Sorry, I'll stop.
He's getting it from the hostage families. He's getting it from U.S. officials. He's getting it from political figures, and he's getting it inside his own nation. We know that the president continues to express optimism. When we asked yesterday why he thinks this latest effort will be different than the previous efforts, he said hope springs eternal, and said they are working hard at this. We know they met in the White House Situation Room yesterday, the president, the vice president.
They're apparently not even negotiating with Netanyahu at this
But
point.
at this point, it is optimism, it is aspiration with little concrete proof to show these latest efforts, this latest proposal, has any chance of being more effective than the previous efforts.
And Scott, from what you can tell, is the Biden administration considering any shifts in policy or support in order to apply new pressure to Israel? Because Israel is also waging a campaign in the West Bank, separate from what's happening in Gaza, and they've got pressure from the north, from Lebanon as well.
This is Eddie Munster now. Do you feel old yet?
Make it or take it or leave it deal or proposal that the U.S. is behind along with its partners. Put those reports aside for the moment. There are any number of efforts diplomatically to continue talks, to continue negotiations. We know that briefing that they had in the White House Situation Room is not going to be the last one. But in terms of changes in strategy or changes in approaches, Netanyahu is making the argument back home that weakens his hand. If the U.S. questions his interest in his techniques, it gives Hamas more leverage at a time when Hamas needs no more leverage. We do know, though, Errol, there is an enhanced...
What does that even mean?
Especially with the murder of 6 hostages this weekend. There is an urgency for a deal. It's just not clear there's a pathway to one.
All right, Scott McFarlane, we appreciate your report.
Here is what the anti-Netanyahu protests have looked like in Tel Aviv. Still going strong on their, third day. Clinically, good evening. I don't know how this ends. The international community has to step in and do something. Or the people have to take, they physically have to take over the government and revolt. But also, many of them are Zionists. They may not agree with everything that Netanyahu is doing. But ultimately, they still want the country to exist as an apartheid state. So I don't know where we go from here. Shut up, Lester.
Stay updated.
I told Curiouser, I was like, we only had one Lester last night. That's what the protest looked like in Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, school back in session in Colombia, and the kids are back at it. Yay, kids.
All right, new this hour. Protesters outside Columbia University are calling on the school to cut ties with Israel. The demand stems from the ongoing war with Hamas, and they're making these demands on what is the first day of classes there. CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano has been covering these protests earlier this year. You see her at Columbia with more. Lilia, how are these demonstrations, I don't know, the same and different from what we saw in the spring?
I guess, Errol, the goal, the divestment, the requests are the same as you mentioned just now, but the size, the scope is much smaller. Today is day one of.
It looks like she's a tech bro CEO.
Call to protest. I follow a lot of the channels where back in the spring semester, students were communicating and organizers were communicating in, and there had been no calls for protest. But this morning at 9:30, they called for people to assemble outside of the gates, for people to not show up to class, to not let school begin, and of course demanding, as you said, the divestment of the university from anything connected to Israel. And so what we've seen is a few dozen protesters. First, they started here on 116th Street and Broadway, which is where a lot.
We're talking about having a threesome with the anchor and the reporter.
Then, there were a handful of counter-protesters.
I would,
yeah. The students themselves then moved to Barnard, which is across the street.
God damn it.
What I heard from some of them was that they felt it would be safer to just continue manifesting there. Everything very peaceful. I have not, we haven't confirmed arrests yet from NYPD, but I had seen some videos of maybe some scuffles with police.
If they were looking at me across the bar.
What I've seen so far, the hours that I've been here was all very peaceful, very calm. And as I said, the students just moved from one gate to the other. I mean, to the other university, to Barnard.
And you had mentioned in your...
You're calling the dude potato face?
Isn't only happening at Columbia. There were some other protests.
Oh, doesn't he kind of look like the, what was the really handsome convict guy that went viral a few years ago? It's kind of what he looks like. He looks like Syl without the shit on his face.
Other major universities in the spring, and school presidents, some of them resigned over...
I'm horrible.
Some saying they went too far, others saying they didn't go far enough. The school president there resigned just a few weeks ago. How now, then,
cancel Justin
responding to this new round of demonstrations?
That's right, Errol. Minu Shafiq, the former president of Columbia University.
Oh, Charlie Kirk.
The person who was interim president was the person who headed the medical school. And what they have done is they limited access to the school in a similar way to how the university handled the protest last time around. There are no encampments inside of campus. We are not allowed in at any time, as was the case in the past. As you can see, there's that tent behind me where there's staff checking for school IDs, and any visitors must pre-register to enter the university.
Cancel me.
Last time we were here, there was that encampment. Of course, the police calling and the university calling on police, and the idea of removing the encampment is what accelerated into what we saw, which were those very serious clashes, the taking over one of the halls of the university. But for now, the university, of course, is, issued messages to parents, to students.
Did that sign say King Charles blames Israel?
Not anybody can come into the university at this point, and that they're going to continue monitoring. But there are some security measures that have been taken, not just in Columbia University, but other universities like
Google it,
which the school staff, the leadership at the university has presented as ways to not just protect the safety of students, but also to fight anti-Semitism, which students in these universities have been denouncing.
It doesn't need to say that.
Censorship or at limiting their freedom of speech. We will, of course, continue to monitor what happens today, but I'll tell you this, the protest for today here at Columbia for the moment has ended. The one that moved over there, students removed their posters and what they had and dispersed.
Well, Lilia Luciano, we appreciate you staying on this story. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Eric.
What does King Charles know? Why are we deferring to King Charles on the matter. The FBI was abuzz with activity today in New York, apparently arresting an aide to the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Head to New York. A former aide to Governor Kathy Hochul has been arrested by the feds. CBS News New York's Marcia Kramer joins us live now. Marcia, this was sort of jaw-dropping. What was this all about?
Well, this is a 65-page indictment that was literally unsealed about an hour and a half ago. And it basically charges a woman named Linda Sun, who was a top aide to both Governor Andrew Cuomo and to Governor Kathy Hochul, of trying to use her various positions in state government to help the Chinese government. They basically accuse her of taking money in exchange for doing various things for the Chinese government and not registering under the foreign agent registration.
She's a Chinese spy.
It's a very complex indictment. Basically, one of the things that she was charged with doing was trying to prevent the New York government from doing anything to recognize the Taiwanese government, because, as you know, the Chinese government says that that's not anything should be recognized. At one point, an assembly person asked if one of the governors could
Wait, do you doubt it clinically? Like, you doubt that Kathy Hochul is dumb enough to have a Chinese spy working for her? Because I don't doubt that. Yeah, I love the concept of registering as a foreign agent, you know, a foreign spy.
go meet with the Chinese, and the phrase was, "No meeting, please. Kindly decline
Exio Duke.
to invade."
Did I say that right? Did I get close? Welcome in, my friend.
But there was so much money that changed hands, millions and millions of dollars, that enabled Linda Sun and her husband to purchase a $4 million home in Ireland, a $2 million condo in Hawaii, and a whole fleet of luxury cars, including a Ferrari, a Mercedes, and a Range Rover. There was a whole number of things that she did, including forging, apparently forging, Governor Hochul's, she was then
not being Andrew Cuomo,
signature on some invitations. Now, why this was important was the following: the Chinese government used this invitation with the forged signature to use it to apply for visas to get these people from the Chinese government into the United States, and they were able to do this with the forged signature. So there was a whole level of things that they did, including visa fraud, money laundering.
So they were sneaking people in, they were laundering money through the governor's office, and they were blocking New York from recognizing Taiwan as a country. Clinically is calling bullshit on all of it. I totally believe Kathy Hochul is that stupid, though.
Laundering and other crimes, and specifically of being an agent of a foreign government, the Chinese government and the Chinese party. Interestingly, during the course of her employment, Linda Sun also made several trips to China, and there are pictures of her at various Chinese events posing with various Chinese officials and also people who worked in the Chinese consulate here in New York. A very comprehensive indictment, and if it is proven, the federal government intends to ask her to forfeit the property, the cars, and various money that was involved in numerous bank accounts. Also, there's some very funny things that were involved in it, including she got a job for her cousin in China. They had a chef of a Chinese official preparing a gourmet duck dish for her parents and sending it here on numerous
succulent Chinese duck dish.
She actually went to China, was in Beijing, and they gave her a room at a hotel that had previously been used by Michelle Obama.
Fascinating. Marcia, this is how we know we have talent on the screen and on the stream. You've had 90 minutes to digest all of that information from the indictment, and you just downloaded it like a pro, like an expert. No teleprompter there, by the way. Marcia, thank you so much.
No
it's
teleprompter.
an honor to have you here today on the stream.
Totally sounds in line with something China would do. I believe that Kathy Hochul is dumb enough to employ somebody that's a Chinese spy. None of this sounds implausible to me. As for your claim about 5 Democrats getting caught, that is not true as far as I know. I don't remember those. Swalwell had a Chinese spy that was very prominent in a lot of politics as a volunteer. And as soon as he found out about her, he reported her to the FBI and cooperated fully. And then when she was found out, because I did this story, they said that she had been employed by a Midwestern mayor, and they didn't say what political party part of. Oh, Feinstein had a driver. Yeah, that's what I would have to like look up each individual claim, because as I said, the thing about Swalwell was bullshit, because I knew that story off the top of my head. Ketanji Brown Jackson sat down for an interview with CBS News.
Help me, God.
To all of the members of the court, I am pleased to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
CBS Morning News, CBS Morning News is using Metallica as a bumper music for introducing an interview with a Supreme Court justice. Is it "And Justice for All" that they're using?
Help me, God.
So help me, God.
To all of the members of the court,
it is
to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
Applause, applause. Welcome back to CBS Mornings. That is Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, as she was sworn in 2022. We all know this. She is the only black woman ever to serve on our nation's highest court. And now the justice is
boomer ass shit. You don't think that's cool?
It's the meaning of her first and middle names, Ketanji Onika. She joins us for her first live broadcast interview about this book, and we are very...
I knew it was a book plug.
Have you in the building today.
Thank you for having me.
You should have seen all the people. Everybody dressed up a little. We're all sitting up a little straighter in our chairs to have you in our presence. But I want to go back to that video for a second, because it's almost like dreams come true. On your Harvard application, you said one of the reasons you want to go was to hopefully fulfill your fantasy of being the first black female Supreme Court justice.
Yes.
So take us to that moment right there.
Well, you know, I had always known about the court.
Yes.
When I was young, and I talk about this in the book, I learned about Constance Baker Motley.
Yes.
Was the first black female judge, and I just thought being a judge would be amazing, especially because my father was a lawyer.
And he would cite cases at you at 4.
He would.
Ask you for your opinion.
We would sit at the dining room table at 4 years old when I was 4.
But not politics? You always wanted to be in the law?
I always wanted
Because your background also seems suited for politics.
Oh, no.
But you chose the law.
I did. I followed in my father's footsteps, for sure.
I'm curious about your hearings, your confirmation hearings, because they seem grueling to me. They seem brutal to me.
Yes.
What did it feel like? Did it feel like that?
I don't remember them being that bad.
Because I was very struck by Cory Booker's words. But tell me what it was like for you sitting in that chair with a lot of people.
Covered it.
Well, it was definitely a test of stamina.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time, a lot of questions, but you know, I was thinking throughout the whole time.
It definitely wasn't Kavanaugh level.
A staffer had said to me,
what did they say?
When we were preparing, she said, well, you know, you can get upset or you can be a Supreme Court justice. And so I thought, oh, okay, this means I really have to keep my composure.
And you did that.
And I did.
I want to get to some news of day for just a second, then we'll get into your backstory, because your backstory is amazing. I told you, I'm already envisioning the movie. Who's going to play you and who's going to play Patrick? I'm very smitten with your love story. We'll get to that in a second.
Thank you.
So this summer, President Biden proposed setting term limits for Supreme Court justices and other reforms for the court.
Cicero, that's tomorrow's freaking news.
You're on board with? You like the idea of that?
Well, you know, what I think about when I think about proposals like that is the fact that we live in a democracy and that people are engaged and they're thinking about the court, what the form and structure and role of the court is, and that's part of our democratic process. And, you know, term limits have been debated for the longest time. In the book, I talk about Alexander Hamilton and thinking about how long Supreme Court justices should serve. So
Where do you stand on it, on term limits?
Well, you know,
Yeah, tell us.
So you're a young woman.
I am a young
Josephus. We had one, yes.
I'm not participating in the actual political debate. This is going through the process now, but I'm very interested in the fact that people are really engaged in the democratic process and thinking about the court.
You don't have an opinion one way or the other, Justice Jackson?
No, I am interested in what people are saying about it.
That's a judicial way of saying it.
You recently aired an interview with your colleague.
Passing on the question.
And he said in his book, he warns about the overreach of federal law and the overcomplication of our...
Hoda looks good in yellow.
Do you think he has a point?
Well, I have not had the pleasure yet of reading his book. I know he has a book out about this issue. I think these are issues that are being debated, whether or not there are too many laws.
I mean, we just had a Chud. I don't know if he's still in here.
Process. I guess my big concern, if you want to talk about what the justices are thinking about, is a concern about the role of the court and staying in my lane as a justice and making sure that all of the branches of government are observing their own respective roles.
You had what some would call a drop the mic.
Wait a minute, that's not Hoda.
Well,
Hoda's on NBC.
And it's been described as fiery and
She ain't
serious,
black,
very
is she?
strong words.
Who is she?
Idaho versus abortion case, and I want to read this verbatim. While this court dawdles and the country waits, While this court dawdles and the country waits, pregnant people experiencing
Yo, King, that's it, Georgie.
Remain in a precarious position as their doctors are kept in the dark about what the law requires. The court had a chance to bring clarity.
Yellow looks good in yellow.
This tragic situation, and you said we have squandered it. You certainly didn't mince words there. Why did you want to make that point so strongly?
Well, you know, a dissent is the opportunity for, the justices to express their differing views with respect to what the majority has done. And I had a different sub-opinion, and I wanted to make clear why I thought what I did in that situation.
Were you worried that people would think that that was too strong, or was that not something you thought about as you were writing? Because people were calling it a massive opinion.
Oh, well, I'll let other people comment as to what they think of it. I mean, I wanted to express as clearly as possible my views on this issue, and the court has a tradition of that lots of justices use terms and phrases that they want to use in order to make a significant point.
Well, Justice Jackson, we're going to do something we rarely do. We're going to ask you to stick around because there's so much we want to really get.
You gonna be on the cooking segment?
And I have a picture that is very searing for me in a positive way. I wonder if you and I feel the same about this. I want to talk about that picture in particular. And I want to find out what it takes to prepare. You said 19 hours to prepare for your confirmation hearings. What exactly did you do, and how did you do that?
Well,
hold that thought. Oh, it starts with well.
Throwing the break.
Watching CBS Mornings. Justice Jackson is sticking around. We'll be right back. Starting with well.
Did not outro with Metallica. She said a lot of nothing, even like her one on the abortion, or not the abortion, the Idaho contraceptive ruling. She really didn't say anything. Trump pled guilty to fresh January 6th charges. I guess that's what it was. She was shilling her book. She's just trying to be likable.
Donald Trump pleading not guilty to charges revised just last week by the special counsel in the 2020 election subversion case. That's a federal case.
Not shave my head again.
CNN's Caitlin Polans is here. Caitlin, you just got a copy of the new filing.
Yeah, it's a one-page filing, but there it has Donald Trump's big, black, bold signature on it, signing it, saying, I'm pleading not guilty. And also, when there's a hearing this coming week, the first hearing that we've had since this case has been paused, since it went to the Supreme Court, they gave him some presidential immunity. He doesn't want to be there in person. And so this paperwork serves as that. It's an important moment, though, Jake, because this is an indictment, and it went through a grand jury. Again, it's the same 4 charges, but he does have to enter a pleading, and he's saying, I plead not guilty. The other reason that that is important is that when you get a not guilty plea, things head toward a trial, and it's a reminder that that's where we are in this case. It's back in the trial court, and Judge Tanya Chutkan in the trial court is going to be moving things along toward a trial, especially now that she has this waiver of appearance and entry of a not guilty plea in this one-page filing from Donald Trump.
All right, Kaylin Polans with the breaking news. Thanks so much. Let's bring in CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig and defense attorney Bill Brennan, who once represented Trump's payroll corporation. Ellie, remind us what changed.
Dude on his phone in his car.
And this one, and why would Trump be pleading not guilty right now as opposed to in person?
So, Jake, this is essentially a revised, slimmed down version of Jack Smith's original January 6th.
This dude's on the Zoom.
In order to accommodate and adjust for the Supreme Court's immunity ruling, what Jack Smith did was take his original indictment, which was 45 pages, file a new indictment last week, which is now 36 pages, where he took out the pieces of information that, of course, are covered by immunity, including, for example, Donald Trump.
Fuck these guys.
The Justice Department. Those are.
If you can't be bothered to go to a TV studio to do your news hit, I don't give a shit what you have to say. If you're waiting for your pickup order, this guy is on a fucking Zoom call. We got what we needed. We got the information we need. Sir, this is a Wendy's. The Trump campaign ousts a volunteer over his warning about New Hampshire. A Donald Trump campaign volunteer in Massachusetts will no longer have any involvement in the campaign after he warned in an email that New Hampshire was no longer a battleground state. This is according to the Boston Globe. In an email which was obtained by the Globe, Tom Mountain, hell of a name, Massachusetts volunteer for the Trump campaign, wrote to other Trump volunteers in the state that the campaign has determined that New Hampshire is no longer a battleground state and instead directed supporters to focus on Pennsylvania, a different battleground state. Mountain continued in his email by stating that Trump was sure to lose by an even higher margin in New Hampshire than in 2016 and 2020, citing campaign data and research. Wow. In 2020, Joe Biden won the state with 52% of the vote to Trump's 45%, while in 2016, Hillary Clinton was able to carry the state by around 2,700 votes. In addition, Mountain claimed resources would be suspended and the campaign would not send Trump or high-profile figures central to the campaign to the state. However, in an email response to Newsweek, Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, denied Mountain's claims and reiterated the campaign's efforts in New Hampshire, stating it maintains an on-the-ground presence in the state. This isn't true. President Trump's campaign maintains an on-the-ground presence in New Hampshire, including staff and offices. Trump worried about New Hampshire, Trump getting bad numbers out of New Hampshire. Controversial Donald Trump biopic shares first clip ahead of pre-election release. So this is our first look. This Donald Trump biopic. Here you go. He said Roy. Sorry, Roy. The forthcoming Donald Trump biopic, The Apprentice, has dropped its first teaser clip ahead of its pre-election release this fall from Iranian-Danish filmmaker Ali Abbasi. The movie stars Sebastian Stan as a young Trump and Succession's Jeremy Strong as his bullish lawyer and mentor Roy Cohn. Described as an origin story, it will examine the early years of the former president's New York real estate career in the 70s and 80s. On Tuesday, the film's distributor Briarcliff Entertainment, I'm sorry, not Brian, released an exclusive scene from the movie showing Stan's Trump and Strong's Cohen in the back of a town car. The statement shared with the independent Trump campaign chief spokesperson Stephen Chung condemned the movie, calling it garbage and pure fiction, which sensationalizes lies that have long been debunked. So apparently the campaign does not like the movie. This film is pure malicious defamation, should not see the light of day, Chong said, and doesn't even deserve a place in the straight-to-DVD section of a bargain bin at a soon-to-be closed discount movie store. It belongs in a dumpster fire. Producers later hit back at the Trump campaign's claims, telling Variety that the film is a fair and balanced portrait of the former president. We want everyone to see it and then decide. The Apprentice is scheduled to release in theaters on October 11th. He did sound angry, didn't he? Speaking of biopic movies, Reagan movie was trashed by liberal film critics as worshipful propaganda, but the reviewers loved Obama tribute. What? According to the Washington Post film critic, Reagan fans might not notice the new movie is a hagiography as rosy and shallow as anything in a Kremlin May Day parade. Dennis Quaid is portraying Ronald Reagan in this new movie. This is Dennis giving an interview to Fox News.
As far as price controls, I know Reagan wouldn't have gone for that because he believed in the free market. It'll find its own way.
Quaid is a total chud.
Reagan also testified that communists were trying to take over the unions in Hollywood, not just the actors union, but the set builders union and cameras union, all and writers, everything, and make it all one thing. And they had to go through the actors union first.
Sounds really stupid.
And Reagan fought that at the time. And but when he testified before Congress, he said that we ought to, as a nation, just go ahead and allow the Communist Party to come into this country and let them say their ideas and everything else, because democracy can handle it. And it would sort itself out because people would see the common sense.
The capitalists would lose.
Common sense.
Very enlightening, Dennis Quaid. That was today's meme of the day. Show me the real villain of the 80s. I said the real villain of the 80s. Perfection. A new film out in theaters this weekend exploring the life of former President Ronald Reagan has been overwhelmingly rejected as worshipful propaganda by liberal film critics. Although Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid, seemed to be well received by audiences with a 97% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes as of Friday, it only had a 26% critic score. Far-left media outlet The Daily Beast didn't hold back in trashing the film as the worst movie of the year. You might have suspected that this MAGA-tinged hagiography would be absolute trash, but it turns out you didn't think low enough, the entertainment critic Nick Shagger wrote. So there's a picture of Dennis Quaid as Ronald Reagan. Regardless of how you feel about the Ronald Reagan as the president, most will be united in finding this biopic a preachy, plotting, graceless groaner. Good alliteration. Considering its ceaseless hero worship, it's unsurprising that Reagan concludes with an Alzheimer-afflicted Reagan riding off into the sunset. Yet for all the effort, did he have a monkey with him? Did he have Bonzo? Was it bedtime for Bonzo? Considering its ceaseless hero worship, it's unsurprising that Reagan concludes with an Alzheimer-afflicted Reagan riding off into the sunset. Yet for all the effort it expends trying to sell the late president as the embodiment of American virtue, McNamara's film is so ungainly and transparent that it plays like embarrassing propaganda. Washington Post critic Ty Burr also called the film rosy and shallow and pop culture propaganda. Variety was less brutal than others, but still characterized it as blatantly worshipful biopic. Hollywood Reporter critic Stephen Faber seemingly summarized the film as an overly reverential tribute to a controversial politician. That seems fair. New Yorker held the authentic joy of the film, while Rolling Stone said the Obama film casts a magic spell by blending budding love. What the fuck? What does okay? While critics scorned the film, which warmly portrayed the beloved Republican president, 2016 Southside With You, a romantic film about former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama's first date, was celebrated by critics. So they're upset that the Obama movie got better reviews from critics. That's wild. They did not include a trailer for the Reagan pick. So, I gotta go find it. I will not do the 3-minute one. I'll give you the 2-minute one. I'll spare you the extra minute. Hayes, good evening. This is the trailer for the new Reagan biopic movie that dropped on Friday.
Welcome to your life.
There's nothing in return.
Oh, I hate it already.
But a president. Now he can do a thing or two.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Did Tears for Fears give their
that as a citizen I would
permission for that?
Any political party outlawed on the basis of its ideology. Because I still believe, Mr. Chairman, that democracy can handle it.
If you put as much work into your career as you do making your speeches, you'd have an Oscar by now.
They lionize him as this big Hollywood star, but he actually wasn't. He was like a B-movie actor. That's really fucking red with the star like that. Why'd they make it look all commie? All right, if you're watching on Twitch, we got to take a 3-minute commercial break. When we come back, we're going to move into the kind of the crime section, I guess. We're getting there. We got a Boko Haram attack. We got an update on everyone's favorite mayor, Tiffany Hayward from Dalton, Illinois. The Covenant shooter in Nashville had their manifesto allegedly leaked. We've got all kinds of crazy crime stories, including a woman accused of murder posting video to social media. Co-workers killed each other in a dispute. A sugar daddy site user recognized a murder suspect. 1,000-pound sister arrested at the zoo. All that and a lot freaking more on the other side of the break. Here on the Troll Patrol, live. Roy Cohn was the one that convinced Trump to get involved in politics and introduced him to Ronald Reagan. Interesting. I think I knew the thing about Cohn trying to get him to get into politics. He's been threatening it since the 80s. Trump, I'm not high enough for this shit. I think he's going to lose. I think we're going to be... I don't think we're done with him. As I said, he's still going to be the presumptive presidential nominee for 2028 for the Republicans, but I think, he will be greatly diminished in power for sure, I would hope. I'm trying to look on the bright side. If he does win, it's good for the Troll Patrol. I'd rather he not win. I don't think he's going to, and I would rather be pissy towards Democrats. He's gonna outlive all of us, Oregon gal. 82 in 2028. The motherfucker's gonna live to be 100 and something. I would like to be done with his bullshit, but I don't think we're gonna be done with his bullshit win or lose. But hopefully, like, it's a lot more him getting his comeuppance in trials, in criminal actions. I think Harris is going to win. It's even going to be surprising. I wouldn't doubt that she wins Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina. She may win Pennsylvania. Fucking polls are tightening in Florida now. I'm under no illusions that the Democrats are going to win in Florida. It's an outside chance. Fucking Rick Scott is now losing ground in polls to his Democratic challenger. He has agreed to a debate. I went over the debates earlier. Our first debate so far, unless there are many that have not had a date set for them, they've not agreed to debates. Our first debate so far is going to be on September 12th. Now, this is not the presidential debate is on September 10th. Our first Senate debate is on September 12th. That is Michigan with Alyssa Slotkin and Mike Rogers. On September 19th, we got the Virginia Senate debate between Tim Kaine and Hung Cao. October 2nd, we got the North Dakota Senate debate between Katrina Christensen and Kevin Kramer. October 9th is a huge one. That is Carrie Lake and Ruben Gallego. October 10th is the Maryland Senate debate between Angela Also Brooks and Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan is closing in on Also Brooks. That one is now a lean Democrat, as it had been safe Democrat before. October 17th, we got the Nevada Senate debate between Jackie Rosen and Sam Brown. Rick Scott has yet to announce when the debate will take place between him and Debbie Mercurisal Powell in Florida. We also don't have a date on Montana, New Mexico, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas. That's Colin Allred and Ted Cruz. They've apparently agreed to a debate but not announced a date yet. We're also going to be keeping an eye on West Virginia. That's Glenn Elliott and Jim Justice. California, Adam Schiff and Steve Garvey. Others that are not going to be competitive, but I really want to keep an eye out for: Tennessee, Gloria Johnson and Marsha Blackburn. That one should be a lot of fun. Bernie Sanders and Gerald Malloy in Vermont. That is a three-way race. I don't even know who the Republican challenger is. In Wyoming, we're not getting a debate. Barrasso has declined to debate his challenger. In Nebraska, we are also one of the two races we're not getting a debate. There are both Senate seats in Nebraska are up for election, as one of them was vacated. Pete Ricketts has declined to debate his challenger. He is currently the senator from Nebraska. He is not going to be debating Preston Love. I hope Allred is up or tied with Cruz in most polls, but once again, this is Texas. It's hard telling what's going to happen. Let's check in with everybody's favorite mayor, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. Her name is Tiffany Henyard. I called her Hayward or something earlier. Tiffany Henyard is defying a trustee meeting, being defiant against court orders.
More drama tonight in Dalton after Mayor Tiffany Henyard clashes with village trustees over a postponed meeting.
Henyard's attorney claims trustees did not cancel the meeting with enough notice and says the show must go on. Casey Cronus is live in Dalton with an update. Casey.
Prometheus.
With Mayor Tiffany
Fight one up, tip one back.
Attorney who tells us the show must go on. You'll hear from him in a...
She dropped her microphone. Look at how banged up it is. Damn. Damn, girl. Like, treat your equipment better. Look at that shit. Like, she ran over it with a car.
You'll hear from him in a moment, but he says not only does Henyard still intend to convene tonight's meeting, she also plans to make a series of new village appointments. In about 90 minutes, we'll see how things shake out, because at least 3 village trustees say they will not be coming. Yesterday, the publicist for the village trustees announced tonight's regular board had been rescheduled for Thursday.
Look at that outfit.
Adding they are working to address several urgent matters, including finalizing a budget, establishing a new village bank account, and securing a new auditor. Henyard's attorney, Bo Brindley, who is a criminal defense lawyer, says the board did not announce the postponement with proper notice.
The mayor was given no notice by the board that they were going to cancel or postpone or do anything with this meeting. Under Illinois statute, they have to give 10 days notice. They have to post 10 days notice to change the date or cancel a meeting. And they didn't do it. They did this in violation of state statute. They tried to circumvent the regular process and interfere with the mayor's ability to conduct her job as mayor.
When asked what will happen if there is no quorum to start tonight's meeting, Brindley adds that the mayor will use this opportunity to address what he calls the board's conduct and behavior. Reporting live in Dalton, Casey Cronus, Fox 32, Chicago.
If you haven't heard all of the story up until that point, that woman has stolen like $5 million from that town. She came in with a $2 million surplus. And they are now $3 million in the hole. And she apparently bought all kinds of shit for herself, including jewelry and cars. NVIDIA received a subpoena today from the DOJ.
The U.S. Justice Department has sent subpoenas to NVIDIA and other companies seeking evidence that the chipmaker violated antitrust laws. This is according to people familiar with the investigation that our Bloomberg reporters have spoken to. We should point out we are still awaiting comment from NVIDIA and the DOJ itself. Joining us right now is Ian King, Bloomberg
I've been
News.
saying it wrong, haven't I?
The semiconductor space.
Okay, what's wrong with this dude? There's something wrong with this. He's also got something on his face. Some kind of growth. It's NVIDIA, not NVIDIA. So I've been saying it wrong for years now. NVIDIA.
Reporters have spoken to. We should point out we are still awaiting comment from NVIDIA and the DOJ itself. Joining us right now is Ian King, Bloomberg News reporter covering the semiconductor space for us. Ian, talk to us a little bit about...
He looks shocked to be on TV.
They're seeking evidence of antitrust violations. What exactly are they sort of hinting at?
Right. In this particular case, we've reported a while ago that there was questionnaires going out, that they were just sort of asking customers, asking competitors, what was going on in the market.
Cosmic Fox.
This has gone to the subpoena stage. The legally enforceable request for information is usually a sign of an escalation.
TJ Dub.
In terms of what they might be looking for, things like bundling, things like taking action, perhaps punitive action against companies that don't use it.
He's really well waxed.
Look at other
very shiny
suppliers, because as we know, NVIDIA has a very, very tight control over the supply chain for a particularly important product at this point.
And when we talk about the DOJ making inquiries into these kinds of issues in the past, you and Leah Nyland reported that the U.S. opened antitrust investigations into both Microsoft and NVIDIA. At the time, did we have a good sense of what it was specifically that they were looking into?
Yeah, I mean, in general, every government, every regulator around the world is looking at
the Australian
as being not only extremely fast growing, but also extremely important with all kinds of economic and indeed security implications. So our understanding at the time was, there were things like NVIDIA's purchase of a small AI.
Much cooler than this guy, Josephus.
Obviously, Microsoft's relationship with OpenAI, that all of these things that, the sense was that regulators wanted to get ahead of this, didn't want anything to become too entrenched before they had a close.
I thought British at first, too.
Dumb question, Ian. But when
there was something that he said that sounded Aussie.
There's concern here that NVIDIA is making it hard to switch to other suppliers or penalizing buyers that don't sort of use exclusively NVIDIA's products. Are there competing products out there? I mean, at least in mass, that these companies would even be able to go to?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, Romain. I mean, clearly NVIDIA is way ahead. But you've got to bear in mind, a company like Amazon AWS, for example, and this is just an example, this doesn't have any relevance to our reporting, they do their own networking, they do their own servers. So NVIDIA, as we know, supplies all of those things, networking, servers, and the chips itself. So what
could be done.
Investigation, what we believe is under investigation is the relationship, between the supply given to those that aren't exclusive users of its stuff. And of course, AMD is in the market as well with accelerators.
Ian, with your decades of experience covering semiconductors
in
Asia and in the U.S., you've seen this happen before, where the government takes a closer look and starts sending subpoenas. How do you expect this? What do you expect is the next step? What will you be looking for in terms of how quickly this might move?
That is something that's, difficult to say. What we can say is...
I tried to get you Maynard, but he got away.
To have a look at this particular area and to act quickly before it becomes entrenched, like we saw in the past with certain Microsoft products, like with Google Search years down the line, they start to take a look at it. This one feels much more on point and abrupt and an effort to sort of get involved right at the beginnings almost of an industry.
That ended abruptly. See him over there plotting. He knew I was going to grab him. Dix, good evening. I have never had a cat try me as much as that cat tried me this morning. I believe he's bolted now. He kept getting in the blinds. He got on top of me and was yelling in my face. The closest I've ever come to throwing a cat across an apartment. Oh my God. He's in there breaking something right now. I didn't do anything to him. I loved on him. You think I'm gonna do something to that baby? What did I do to cause him to... That's what Curiouser said. So clearly I was in the wrong. The landslide brought it down. California having a hell of a go of it with landslides, mudslides.
Worsening landslides in Southern California have forced crews there to shut off power for more than 100 homes. This is in a city just outside of Los Angeles. Officials say dozens of homes could be without power for 3 weeks, with some being in the dark indefinitely. CBS News national correspondent Jonathan Vigliola.
No, the bowls were empty. I fell asleep last night. I didn't get ready for bed and feed the cats and everything. I fell asleep. And they didn't get fed. They were upset. Maynard. Maynard is the one that the other two lay with me, and they, they're with me like when I get up, right? But they'll lay there and be perfect little babies. Maynard is not a perfect little baby. He lets you know when he is upset.
Lottie is following this for us from Ranchos Palos Verdes. Jonathan, show us what you're seeing and why crews are purposefully shutting off power. The scene kind of tells the story.
So we don't have gas explosions.
Yeah, the power turned off because of the threat of fire. Before I elaborate on that, I want to give you some context. You see the home behind me. You'll understand what's happening here once I describe this kind of landslide. Because I don't know about you, Errol, but when I think of a landslide, I think about a mountainside giving way, sending mud and dirt crashing into homes. That's not what's happening here. In this case, we're talking about
direct
terranean landslide. So about 150 feet beneath where I'm standing, you have a layer of soil that is slowly moving. Historically, it has moved about 2 inches every single month. But because of all the atmospheric rivers we've experienced over the past 2 years, we've had this influx of water that has now exacerbated that movement. Geologists saying as much as 4 feet now moving every single month. So when you have that subterranean layer moving, you have the surface area with homes caving in, almost like a sinkhole, or if you think of a souffle being deflated. And that's what you're seeing here. This home has caved in on itself. Believe it or not, this was elevated just last year when we were here, about 10 feet higher, but the soil has given in, sending this home crashing. And around this community, easily dozens of homes that look like this. The street has been blocked off here. That power has been turned off. 140 people without power right now, and for good reason, because last week a fire was sparked. And fires are the big concern moving forward with the land moving, power lines breaking. And you said it, about 140 residents without power for 3 weeks, others indefinitely.
He is very, very pissed off.
Definitely, there is no quick fix to what's happening here at this hour, Errol.
I mean, this is every California homeowner's worst nightmare. You have described how conditions over the last few months have actually made this risk worse. How extensive is the damage, and how are people there reacting? What the heck are they supposed to do?
Yeah, and it's a question a lot of them.
Head for higher ground.
So this isn't just one neighborhood. You could drive a mile in either direction and you'll find neighborhoods that are threatened by this movement. We were in one neighborhood yesterday where we spoke with a woman, Sally Reeves, 81 years old. She's lived in her home for the past 42 years without a single crack.
Hang on, Sally.
She started to notice cracks in the wall. The wallpaper was starting to peel. Within a month, she had a fissure right through her home. She took us on a tour to show us the conditions that she's currently living in. Take a listen to what she told us.
Damn.
This is what it did to our bedroom.
So this was where a bed would normally be.
Our bed was right here.
And this is the cracking from this landslide.
Yes.
Her power has been turned off. She's running off of a generator. She has moved into the garage, which is now a cottage for her and her husband. There have been no cracks there. I asked her why is she writing this out at her home. She says that this is her livelihood. She bought that home 42 years ago. She
ain't got nowhere to go.
Thinking of getting a new foundation, but she doesn't have any insurance specifically for landslides. No one here does. It's very hard to get that insurance. So the question is, who foots the bill? Who helps with recovery here?
Your heart goes out to folks.
She does.
You understand the emotional attachment, and we want to see more of what she had to share with you. We know you'll have that on the CBS Evening News tonight. Jonathan Vigliotti, thank you so much.
God damn. Let me hit the content warning for this one because it's probably going to be horrific. A Boko Haram attack in Nigeria has killed dozens.
People gathered on Tuesday in northeastern Nigeria to bury the victims of a suspected Boko Haram attack in Yobe State. Suspected Islamist militants belonging to the group roared into Mafa village on motorcycles on Sunday afternoon, opening fire on a market and setting shops and homes ablaze. An early estimate from a military official said at least 37 people were killed in the attack. But residents and officials said the death toll could be even higher, with villagers still missing and feared dead after fighters chased them into the bush. A Yobe police spokesperson told Reuters the attack was an apparent retaliation for the killing of 2 suspected Boko Haram fighters by local vigilantes. General Dahiru Abdul Salam is a special advisor on security matters in Yobe State.
Coward Boko Haram that went and attacked innocent civilians in their village and killed them. So we came to bury them and to also condole their families and other relations as well as the local government.
Yobe is one of 3 states at the front line of an insurgency that has lasted 15 years. Thousands of Nigerians have been killed and more than 2 million people have been displaced.
God damn. Fun times in Africa nowadays. Totally got a genocide going on over there too. If not multiple genocides. So what's new? A 12-year-old boy in the UK was supposed to be sentenced for his role in UK riots. Mother's Ibiza holiday delays 12-year-old son's sentencing for UK riots disorder. The boy is facing being locked up after playing a greater part in recent civil disorder than any adult or child seen by the judge. We've got a 12-year-old Nazi, apparently. An astonished judge has been forced to delay the sentencing of a 12-year-old boy involved in violent far-right riots because his mother is on holiday in Ibiza. District Judge Joanne Hurst told Manchester Magistrates Court on Monday that she was frankly astonished the boy's mother had decided to fly abroad for a 5-day break, with her son due in court having admitted 2 counts of violent disorder. The judge issued a summons for the mother and said the boy, who cannot be identified due to his age, faces being locked up after playing a greater part in the recent civil disorder than any adult or child I've seen coming through these courts. The youngster, who was accompanied to court by his uncle, had earlier admitted to being part of a mob that attacked a bus outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Manchester on the 31st of July. Days later, on the 3rd of August in Manchester city centre, he was part of a group filmed kicking the windows of a vape shop and throwing a missile at a police van. District Judge Hurst was told the boy's mother was not present, having gone on holiday on Sunday and was due to fly back to the UK on Thursday. She thanked the boy's uncle for accompanying his nephew to court in his mother's absence, but added 1 day before the hearing we find out that the mum has gone on holiday and is not with her son, who played a greater part in the recent civil disorder than any adult or child I've seen. I'm frankly astonished. I will require a full explanation from mum on her decision to go on holiday 1 day before her 12-year-old son comes to court facing a potential custodial sentence. This is a serious situation. It has now deteriorated, in my view, because of the actions of the mother. She is on notice. I will be challenging her about this decision. Addressing the boy as she adjourned sentencing, Judge Hurst told him, "Boys like you need their mums in their lives. I need your mum here." Most absurd news, politics, and current events on the internet. Living up to the title. Last spring, A non-binary student shot up a school in Nashville, the Covenant shooting. Their manifesto apparently leaked earlier today, possibly to a far-right outlet. You could also hit the content warning for violence and probably transphobia.
This is a News 2 breaking news alert.
Thank you for joining us for News 2 at 3. I'm Mark Kelly. I start with that breaking news alert right now. We do have more of the Covenant school shooter's writings appearing to have leaked. A conservative website called the Tennessee Star claiming to have published Audrey Hale's so-called manifesto. The shooter killed 6 innocent people at the Covenant School back in March 2023, including 3 children. Alicia Wimberly is at the WKRN.com alert desk with what those writings reveal. Alicia?
Mark, the Covenant families have fought in court to keep these writings secret, and a judge sided with them earlier this summer. But now we have what appears to be the biggest leak yet. The Tennessee Star says it published 90 pages from the shooter's journal. We decided to report on portions of it because we think it gives you a sense of the shooter's state of mind leading up to the attack. Now, one of the biggest takeaways is the shooter's anger about their gender. Hale was female at birth but identified as male. One writing a few weeks before the shooting said, "I need a trans doctor. This female gender role makes me want to not exist, to be completely gone in physical form off the face of the earth." Another writing said, "I hate everything about my gender. Everything hurts." They repeatedly mentioned wanting to die, and at one point said, "I'd kill to die." We also noticed several apparent references to the Columbine school shooting. One page says, "I want my massacre to end in a way that Eric and Dylan would be proud of." If you don't remember, those are the names of the Columbine shooters. Another page,
I remember,
16th in 2023, suggests the shooter was planning an attack the next day. It apologized to someone, it's unclear who, for planning a massacre. It goes on to say, "How bad my heart hurts. Tomorrow is my last day on earth." Then a note lower on the page says, "I couldn't do it. I don't want to ruin your day. I'll wait as planned." Now, we reached out to the Metro Police Department for an update on their investigation into the leaks. So far, we have heard nothing back. Mark.
Right-wing media has been obsessed with the shooter's manifesto. Mainly because I think they want to blame it on their transness or their struggles with their gender identity. It should make you sad. They were absolutely hurting. If we lived in a world that was more accepting, less repressed, where they could get the care they need, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Where they could get the mental health care that they need, or they can get the trans health care that they need. This is all these issues that we face as a country are all intertwined. Not having health care is a public health emergency, and it is causing many of the other things that we see, from shootings to high suicide rates to deaths of despair like suicide and drugs, or high addiction rates. You're right, Quesadilla. They'll make content out of their story. Audrey, I don't even remember what their name was. And I don't even know if that might be a dead name. I don't know what their issues were with their gender, where they might have been on their gender journey. Apparently still identifying as, or being forced to identify as, female. I hate using that name or pronouns. New video of a teen driver allegedly hitting 140 miles per hour before a fatal crash.
To newly surfaced video of a teenager allegedly driving at high speeds months before authorities say he was involved in an accident that killed another teen. The victim's family is trying to hold the mother of the driver accountable. Eva Pilgrim is here with more. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Michael. Flynn Mackerel's family wants answers. His mother telling us she will never stop fighting for her son's preventable death. This is that new video of the driver behind the wheel.
Dramatic new video showing a teen driver going nearly 140 miles per hour. Just a few months after this video, police say he killed his friend, Flynn Mackerel, who was riding with him in a high-speed crash. ABC News obtaining multiple videos allegedly showing that driver repeatedly driving well over the speed limit.
Why, motherfucker?
He's going 115. This one appearing to show the teen engaging in drag racing, and here driving through what's clearly a residential street. Now he's charged with second-degree murder. Flynn Mackerel's mother spoke to us.
There are people everywhere. There are families, there are people driving, and I'm sure they were scared to death.
Police say that driver, just 16 at the time, was going over 100 miles per hour in a 25 residential zone last November.
God damn!
And crashed into a tree, killing Mackerel.
We feel like our life ended, our family was destroyed.
Mackerel's family now pushing authorities to criminally charge that teen driver's mother, saying she knew he drove recklessly and didn't do enough to stop it. An investigation report obtained by ABC News.
Charge the mom! Charge the mom!
On his phone, an app that shows how fast a car is going and where it is. The report states his mother repeatedly texted him in the weeks and months before the crash to stop speeding. At one point writing, "I have screenshots of you driving 123 miles per hour.
She knew, and she failed to take reasonable...
Yes, there is no reason why we can't have restrictor plates on cars. There is no reason to have a kid have the power to go 140 miles an hour.
Care. And so what do? Do we just say that's okay? Or do we say, no, our kids are not going to come home and get into a car with a ticking time bomb?
The prosecutor's office says it is reviewing the Mackerel case and tells us investigators have submitted a warrant request for a relative of the teen driver.
Now, we reached out to the lawyer representing the teen.
Holy mackerel.
And his mother, the teen's attorney, declining to comment due to pending litigation. Guys.
But you just feel for that family.
Nix, the kid was 16. Absolutely the mother's responsibility, so I think she should be charged. Apparently a gruesome scene where an entire family murdered. They've now been identified. This happened in I don't know where this in Iron Deworky. What fucking state is this in? What fucking in Monroe County, New York.
Your breaking news and weather authority. This is 13 Wham News at 6.
Horror and heartbreak in Irondequoit. 2 young children, all found dead in their burning home. Police calling it an unthinkable case of homicide.
When you murder innocent children, there's no excuse for it.
Good evening. I'm Karen Edwards. Matt is off. Police releasing new information today on the tragic scene in Irondequoit where a family of 4 was found dead. We have team coverage tonight as we hear from family, friends, and police amid the ongoing search for answers. Irondequoit police becoming emotional today and announcing a family of 4 were found dead in their burning home on Knapp Avenue Saturday morning. The victims, 4-year-old Evangeline Ubaldo Moreno, 2-year-old Sebastian Ubaldo Moreno, and their parents, 26-year-old Marangeli Moreno Santiago and 30-year-old Frame Ubaldo. A family and community in disbelief tonight as police are urging anyone with information information to please come forward. We begin with 13 Wham Stephen Pappas. Police giving powerful statements and becoming emotional about this case today, Stephen.
Yeah, Karen, good evening. Irondequoit Police Chief Scott Peters emotional at today's press conference as we got a first real update from Saturday's scene that we now know resulted in the death of a family at their home on Knapp Avenue. A crime scene unlike any other for Irondequoit Police Chief Scott Peters.
This was a horrific scene. In almost 32 years of doing this job, I've never seen anything like it.
Shock and horror from the Irondequoit community. A family of 4 victims of a homicide in their own home.
This is Labor Day. It's supposed to be a joyous day, spending time off with your family. This family doesn't have that anymore. This family is forever going to be, half their family's gone in an instant.
Irondequoit Police providing an update on the investigation and naming the 4 family members killed. 30-year-old Fraime Ubaldo, 26-year-old Marangeli Moreno Santiago, 4-year-old Evangeline Ubaldo Moreno, and 2-year-old Sebastian Ubaldo Moreno killed early Saturday morning. Chief Peters saying these actions are inexplicable.
Adults do what adults do, but kids are innocent. So
what does that mean?
For what it's worth. Mom was being a mom, protecting her children.
Purgatorus. Mary Jane.
I can't say, but nobody should ever be able to do this or be able to think that they could do that to a child.
The chief saying that his department is dealing with a lot at the moment between the investigation and trying to keep a community together, and says those responsible will be caught.
We wanted to make sure that we went floor to floor and didn't miss any piece of information that needed to be collected to ultimately bring these monsters to justice.
Now, this is an ongoing investigation with more information expected in the future. Anybody who can help police is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 423-9300. Karen?
Damn, that one was horrific. Oh, there was more to the story here.
Stephen, thank you. Our Carly Miner spoke with family and friends today who shared more about the tragedy. Carly.
Yeah, Karen, loved ones are now desperate for answers after first responders found the victims early Saturday morning. A heartbroken family enduring an imaginable loss. 4-year-old Evangeline Ubaldo Moreno, 2-year-old Sebastian Ubaldo Moreno, their 26-year-old mother, Marangeli, and 30-year-old Fraime Ubaldo were all found dead inside their burning home on Knapp Avenue early Saturday morning. Police say they were victims of a homicide. Relatives say the couple had been together for nearly 6 years and were parents of the 2 children. Luis Moreno is the father of 26-year-old Marangeli Moreno Santiago. In a statement, Luis says, "She was a sweet girl, very dependable, a great mom. Everything was for her kid, you know." Police say the initial call came in as a house fire just before 5:30 Saturday morning. Investigators have spent the last 2 days going in and out of the home, going door to door asking neighbors for any information. The godmother of the 2 children, Miss Weeks, is Moreno Santiago's best friend. She got choked up talking about the family. In a statement, she says, "I'm like coming to reality now, but it's still like kind of a shock. Like I lost my best friend, I lost my godkids. I've been asking myself why? Why them? Why them? I just don't get it." A memorial with flowers and teddy bears are growing outside the home on Knapp Avenue. Karen?
Well, that sucked. I'm sorry. I hope the rest of them aren't that brutal. I don't think there's any child murder anymore. They don't know what happened. They suspect homicide, but they don't have any leads or any suspects. Yeah. I don't know if they know how they were murdered, if they were shot or something. They didn't really give us that information. Woman accused of murder. Sorry, Drake. Getting there. You'll be laughing. Maybe not this next story or two, but you'll be laughing by the third story. Promise. Okay, maybe you'll laugh at this one. You'll probably laugh at this one. A woman accused of murder in Cincinnati posted video of her crime on social media.
Hey, Kyle and Paula.
Here he is, sir. Good evening.
The video in this story may be disturbing. Now, this is what the suspect, Akira Fletcher, posted on Facebook on Friday afternoon. She included 2 videos. One of them shows the shots that would end up being fatal. Fletcher tagged Local 12, giving her account of what happened. By the next morning, she was booked into jail.
Hit me again.
4 shots, 1 woman dead, another injured, and the woman recording in jail. And this video will likely be part of the evidence against Akira Fletcher. This was the crime scene on the early morning of July 12th. Police taping
anything you film can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Off an SUV with a flat tire, surrounded by shattered glass, in the middle of a parking lot where 2 women were shot on Reading Road in Avondale. Fletcher says these were the moments leading up to the shooting.
You going to jail? I don't give a.
The woman in pink is 29-year-old Naima Norton. Fletcher was recording when she allegedly shot Norton and another woman also seen in the video. Norton died 6 weeks later. The fatal confrontation playing out on Fletcher's phone.
I love that they're actually on her fucking Facebook. And people have hearted, liked, and sad-faced it. 65,000 views. Would you guys sad-face it if you saw it on Facebook?
Norton died 6 weeks later. The fatal confrontation playing out on Fletcher's phone.
I have a gun in my purse. They trying to make me out the car. She's busting my window again.
In her Facebook post, Fletcher claims she was being, quote, attacked by Norton. At one point, Norton appears to be holding a knife and then a rock.
I don't give They're going to jail. She just threw another rock at me, as you can see. She's slashing my tires.
Eventually, the 2 women begin walking away, but Fletcher gets out of the car and is heard threatening them before they walk back toward her.
You should be happy. You should be happy you don't get clapped. You should be happy you don't get clapped.
That recording stops as Fletcher starts to move her car. The next video begins with Fletcher's window shattered and Norton approaching her car. It ends with gunshots and Norton on the ground. A complaint filed in Hamilton County Municipal Court shows there was an ongoing beef between Norton and Fletcher. In May, Norton was accused of pointing a gun at Fletcher and threatening to shoot her. Both women were due in court for that case tomorrow.
They had to cross her name out. They got it wrong. They spelled it with an E instead of an A. Naima Norton. Naima Norton. I don't know. The woman was coming at her with a fucking rock and busted out her window. You can make an argument for self-defense. I don't know what the laws are in Ohio, but the woman could probably get her a lawyer. I don't know what to say about that one. Everybody deserved a titty slap.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Two co-workers in Florida killed each other during a dispute.
They were supposed to be working together, but instead Sarasota police say an argument caused 2 colleagues to kill one another. Their bodies were found inside a home this morning on Lido Key. It's left the island community in shock. Fox 13's Kimberly Quizon reports officers are still trying to piece together what caused the men to turn on one another.
Tuesday morning,
Sally Esther walked out her front door and found crime scene tape.
I was taking my trash out, and that's when I saw all the officers' vehicles.
Love your bandana, ma'am.
Department lined the 700 block of South Boulevard of the Presidents on Lido Key. 2 men, a 32-year-old and a 50-year-old, were found dead at this rental.
And I found out some information and just a
looking short.
Scary answer that I got, and it's just really sad what happened.
Sarasota police say someone who had access to the home found the men around 9 this morning.
They got into some sort of argument. What it appears is that in this incident where they were arguing, they did end up taking each other's lives. So
wait a minute, Clarissa became a cop? What the fuck?
It's a very tragic situation.
Investigators say the men were co-workers and had come to the area for work.
They were not working on this house. It looks like they were possibly coming here for work, and their employer had booked them a stay here.
Surveillance video from inside and outside the home is giving investigators a look into what happened, but they say there is still more to uncover.
It would be logical to assume that they each were armed. So again, we're very early on in the investigation. We don't have both weapons.
Officers found one knife on scene, and for those who live here, it's a tragic situation. They're still trying to comprehend.
I feel bad for the families. I feel bad for these 2 men. I feel bad that this incident had happened, especially on our quiet little Lido.
Kimberly Quizon, Fox 13 News.
The medical examiner's office has identified the men involved, and officers are now working on notifying their families. Their cause of death won't be official until an autopsy is complete.
Sorry, I smacked the microphone. Cragwitz, good evening. No, that helps keeps the property value down. Good for the neighborhood. Oh, the woman with the bandana. Yeah. Probably. Sad enough. You're probably right on that one. I'm not high enough for this shit. All right, are you ready to laugh? You ready to laugh? A sugar daddy site user instantly recognized a murder suspect.
Bond was denied for the man accused of killing a nursing student over the weekend. Bobby Singh Shah is charged with capital murder for the shooting death of 21-year-old.
Are you ready to laugh? MILF.
Records revealed her own security camera provided some of the best clues in this case. ABC 13's Jessica Willie is live after speaking to one of the last people she talked to before her death. Jess?
Erica, court records state that Muna Pondy was murdered on Saturday, but it wasn't until Monday after an anonymous person called her complex here to report a body inside her apartment that she was found. An investigator saying that one gunshot wound was execution style. Police believe these two
MILF. Congrats.
Don't know to what extent. The suspect seen on camera record state forcing her inside her apartment at gunpoint. Her boss says just 40 minutes earlier, she was locking up the cell phone.
MILF, that sounds like a reason to light one up, tip one back. Hope you're enjoying your evening.
Store where she worked. Outside the apartment where Muna Pondy lived and died, a growing memorial to a young woman who had plans.
She was going to graduate in December, and she wants to do the digital marketing.
This man, who wants to remain anonymous for his privacy, manages the cell phone store where she worked. She was not only an employee, he says, she was a friend.
She was full of joy. She used to believe in live life to the fullest.
On Saturday, he talked to the 21-year-old HCC student from Nepal around 6:45. He saw her on the store's security camera, but never talked to her again.
So I was checking the cameras, and she closed the store at 8:06. And then I texted her on Sunday at afternoon for I was making my schedule for the week. I was like, do you want extra hours? And she didn't respond. And then I sent her the schedule too, around 4 o'clock. She didn't respond.
On Monday, Pondy was found dead from multiple gunshot wounds inside her apartment. Her security camera captured her with this man. Wednesday, he was identified as Bobby Singh Shah, and a detailed criminal complaint revealed a timeline.
Video from the victim's camera allegedly showing Shaw forcing Pondy with her hands full of bags and boxes inside at gunpoint. She's asking what he's going to do. Between 8:30 and 9, a neighbor heard a loud thumping. At 9:48, the suspect leaving with one of the bags Pondy had carried in. Police received tips about his identity, saying the two frequented the same restaurant. One tipster saying she recognized him from a sugar daddy website 10 years ago. He was arrested Wednesday night. Police recovered what's believed to be the murder weapon. Only ABC 13 was there today as Houston police and crime scene investigators searched Shaw's Northwest Harris County apartment on Crossroads. At the same time, the 51-year-old was supposed to be in court.
Bail will be denied.
He waived his appearance. The hearing officer denied bond. Police saying initially this was a robbery attempt, but Pondy's friends believe there's more to it.
I want to know why. I mean, like, whatever happened to her, like, she didn't deserve it, actually.
And police did not find the victim's cell phone here on the scene, so certainly that was one of the things they were looking for today. Shaw does not have an attorney of record just yet. He is due back in court on Tuesday.
The profile would seem that, first of all, I'm sorry that wasn't funny. It was like, are you ready to laugh? And then hit you with that story. Yeah, the profile is like somebody who was probably abusive, was getting off on abusing women and escalated over the years. This could have been his first time murdering somebody. Or he may even have other victims. I'm assuming if somebody was recognizing him from a sugar daddy site from 10 years ago, he made quite the impression on her. Probably threw up many red flags. I have no idea what the Sunnyside Menace is. This is in Sunnyside, Queens, New York. But the Sunnyside Menace has finally been apprehended.
It's a story you'll see only on Fox 5. A man arrested in Sunnyside, Queens, where people say he's been terrorizing their community for years.
Fox 6's Arthur Chan
for years.
Very relieved neighbors about what they've been through.
This guy have us suffering and shaking. I just welcome.
Residents of 4319 39th Place in Sunnyside, Queens welcomed us in tears following the arrest of their neighbor, David Ock. Cell phone video obtained by Fox 5 shows the arrest of the man Friday. As NYPD officers tried to detain him, it turned violent. Ock pushes a police officer against the wall. The officer hit his head and had to be hospitalized. After an intense struggle, other officers arrive and finally overpower the suspect. Police now confirmed to Fox 5 Ock has been arrested for a number of charges, including assault, menacing, harassment, drug possession with intent to sell, and multiple counts of vandalism.
Wow.
There was a brick through the window, and I said, who would do this?
The story was brought to our attention by a Fox 5 employee whose identity we are withholding for safety purposes. 2 weeks ago, he arrived home to find his car and two others vandalized. Other neighbors described to us 2 years of what they call menacing, deranged behavior on the part of the 34-year-old, showing us pictures of two meat cleavers he allegedly tossed through his window, shattering windows on the other side of the alley, and gave us a picture of a BB gun they say he used to destroy glass doorways on the block. Neighbors also say twice police have come to arrest Ock but didn't see him, and Friday, residents led the charge.
We saw him in the street, and then we just called, we followed the instructions that the police gave us. We called 911.
Police tell us Ock has a history of arrests, beginning with nonviolent charges, including petty larceny, going back to 2015. And he was wanted for 4 separate incidents since just this July, and that was before appearing to shove that officer during Friday's arrest. For those who live in this building and on this block, they tell us they have 2 main concerns right now. The first is for their own safety if the suspect is released and angry with them. But they also say they're concerned about the well-being of the suspect.
I just hope he gets the help he needs, now that the police have him.
While will now face a judge, those who live on this block are waiting anxiously to see if the peace they now feel lasts. In Sunnyside, Queens, Arthur Chien, Fox 5 News.
Well, The menace is off the streets for now. LA has been menaced by street takeovers lately. Apparently one last night resulted in a car on fire.
With breaking news, 2 chaotic street takeovers overnight, several cars on fire. People also broke into a car dealership.
Eyewitness News reporter Eric Rescindy's live in University Park.
They seem like good people, didn't they, Drake?
What's going on there, Eric?
John, Rachel, yeah, one of those takeovers that happened.
He has awesome hair.
Park, take a look right behind me. We can see just how intense it was. We can see the skid marks of the tire, the broken glass, and all of the debris. This is right at Jefferson Boulevard and Figueroa Street. Pretty much the scene almost clear, but take a look. We want to show you the broken glass, the damage that was left behind from that break into this car dealership. As for that video from the takeover, take a look at how intense it was here.
Oh, police just came too.
Yep, according to LAPD, this happened around 3:30 this morning. LAPD confirms that the takeover with a crowd was out here. Apparently fireworks were involved. It's unclear though as for that car fire if it was accidental or if it was on purpose. Now LAPD out here tells us that as for the people that broke into the car dealership, it's unclear if they stole anything, but they did do a walkthrough and it appears that everything inside appears to be okay. No damages to any of the cars. As for that second intense takeover, that happened in South LA. Take a look. Now, this happened just after midnight near Florence and Normandy.
Take those lights in his rims out.
We can see just how chaotic the scene was. The scene was, again, another car fire involved in that street takeover. As for that incident in South Los Angeles, as of now, no arrests reported and no injuries reported. Back out here live in University Park. Just again, 2 very intense takeovers with two car fires involved here in the city of Los Angeles. As for this incident, as of now, no arrest.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
Hey, Mark Brown.
Great ABC7 content by clicking.
Appreciate all you do, Mark Brown. Seems like harmless fun to me. If you're watching on Twitch, we're going to have to take a commercial break. When we come back, a historic main bridge was damaged after an F-750 plunged through it. I've got crazy video of a yacht rescue. One of the stars of 1,000 Pound Sister was arrested at a zoo. Yale divinity students were apparently forced to do witchcraft. A woman left her house in a towel. Somehow we have video of it. All that and a lot freaking more here on the Troll Patrol live. Monsieur Balls, welcome back in, my friend. Why can't I be a safer pair of hands? We can't all be Mark Brown. I can't match that dad energy of Mark Brown.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. And download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.
I don't know him, but he seems like he's a good guy, right? Mark Brown's a good guy. I think he's a good family man. He's raised some wonderful kids. He's probably a grandpa now. Grandpa Mark Brown. Why am I assuming this about Mark Brown? That man fucks. He does indeed fuck. And look at him. I'd fuck him. I don't usually go for the daddy zaddy types, but damn. I'd let him fuck me. Ooh, he probably is a leather daddy. I could see it. God damn you people.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Get your minds out of the gutter. Still got a minute before everybody's back from break. Go ahead, we need to get more high. Getting ready to get into what, like, this is actually the fun shit. We can laugh about this shit. Like, are you ready to laugh? Here, let me present you with some murder. Because it said Sugar Daddy in the title, I was ready to laugh about it. Born in the gutter, it's all we know. Tempered in it. Light one up, dip one back. Chuggy dog, that's cute. Everybody back from break now. Alright, we can get back to that news. Justin's hungry. We need to get this news over with. Overweight Ford F-750 plunges through a historic wooden bridge in Maine. There is the aftermath. Once upon a time, Maine could claim that more than 120 covered bridges dotted its landscape. Last week, the head count was 9. Now there are 8.5. That's because, despite posted signs, the driver of an overweight vehicle decided to cross one. He didn't make it, not even halfway. Instead, the bridge bottomed out, sending the driver, truck, and cargo plummeting.
The DOT says that this bridge is fixable, but the work won't be done until next spring, which means nearby residents will have to find an alternate route.
It's like my main way to get to work, to get to the stores, to get everywhere.
Cindy Russell is one of about 360 drivers that travel through Babbs Bridge daily. Now she'll be adding some extra time to her commute.
I'd say a good 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Depending on traffic.
Friday, an overweight dump truck broke through the base of the bridge. It damaged some beams and left a gaping hole in the deck.
People I work with who've been around for decades do not know of any instance like this happening in any bridge in Maine DOT's bridge inventory. This is a first, I believe.
The covered bridge was originally built in 1840, but
did the truck go into the water? We're seeing the opening there. It went in, right? Did they have to get it out?
Friday, an overweight dump truck broke through the base of the bridge. It damaged some beams and left a gaping hole in the deck.
People I work with who've been around for decades do not know of any instance like this happening in any bridge in Maine DOT's bridge inventory. This is a first, I believe.
The covered bridge was originally built in 1840, but was burned down by vandals in the 1970s. A few years later, the state constructed an exact replica of the original.
It's important that we continue that history and keep the history alive. There's only that's one of 8 covered bridges left in the state of Maine, so it's important.
The DOT says getting the lumber needed for historical accuracy will add several months to the construction project, but nearby residents say that's a price they're willing to pay.
It's a piece of the neighborhood. It's been here a long time, and almost everybody on this road has a story to tell about the bridge.
The DOT does.
That's what I was thinking about Beetlejuice.
These repairs will cost.
They went through a covered bridge, didn't they?
The owner of the truck company said he was willing to help rebuild. In Gorham, Anna Kuhn, Fox 23 News at 10.
You just keep staring at the camera. Oh.
He was groups willing to help rebuild. In Gorham, Anna Kuhn, Fox 23 News at 10.
Maine seems like a lovely place. Let's go from a quaint little backwoods town in Maine to off the coast of a island in Australia. A yacht was adrift in 20-foot waves.
One on board.
2 stranded sailors are now safe after a daring rescue in choppy seas nearly 200 miles offshore. Their yacht was adrift after a mechanical issue, and waves almost 20 feet tall delayed a rescue for several hours.
About this high.
Australia's Navy and Air Force managed to safely grab them when conditions finally improved.
I don't know anything about boating. I would not put me at the helm of anything because I don't know jack shit about boating. Did anybody in the chat watch 1,000 Pound Sister? £1,000 Sister star Amy Slatton leaves zoo on a stretcher, had to be bandaged after a camel bite. This is a picture of Amy Slatton. She was bit by a camel. The 1,000-pound sister star Amy Slatton needed a stretcher after cops say she was bitten by a camel at a Tennessee zoo, and she had her wound wrapped in a makeshift bandage. TMZ obtained photos of Amy leaving the Tennessee Safari Park in Alamo on a gurney on Monday. It looks like she's in pain. She's got a piece of clothing for a tourniquet. Folks who were there say they saw Amy walking through the parking lot with a shirt wrapped around her arm before EMS workers helped her on a stretcher. This is her mugshot. Adding insult to injury, Amy ended up arrested after all this because law enforcement tells us cops found psychedelic mushrooms and marijuana in her car, and we're told the drugs were in plain sight. Bullshit. I'm on her side. She should not be arrested for those drugs. Fuck the police. As we reported, Amy was busted for illegal possession of a Schedule 1 and Schedule 6 drugs, plus 2 counts of child endangerment after a wild Labor Day at the zoo. Okay, if you got a kid with you, that's a little different, but still, it was just pot and magic mushrooms. Tennessee cops tell us Amy had 2 kids with her in the car. She got dinged with both counts of child endangerment because of the drugs. Tennessee Safari Park features a drive-through safari and a walk-through zoo where people pay to feed exotic animals, including camels and giraffes. John Conley tells TMZ there is no way she was bitten by one of their camels, and the cut above her elbow is not indicative of a camel bite because the skin is laid open and there's no bruised tissue. The fuck? Conley says the park has thousands of guests each year and no one has ever been bitten by a camel. The zoo couldn't find any surveillance video backing up Amy's camel bite claim. John also says Amy was unable to explain where in the park she was allegedly bitten. After being taken away in a stretcher and rushed to a hospital for treatment, cops say Amy was hauled to jail for booking, where she posed for a mugshot. I don't know what this video is. That was a camel almost snatching a baby, apparently. Damn, it really did almost get it. It's the second injury in 3 months that we've seen in a drive-through safari. In June, a giraffe Not a camel. A giraffe snatched a toddler out of the back of a pickup truck at a zoo in Texas. It just needed a snack. I'm sure the giraffe would have been very loving. It would have took care of that child. I'm on Team Giraffe. I don't even know that there is anything to this. I couldn't find any video or anything. Couldn't even find other stories about it. This is from the College Fix. It is a far right-wing media outlet. Yale Divinity students forced to read from witch's spell at orientation. Yale's Divinity School coerced students to read from a spell written by a witch as part of its before the fall orientation. The 3-day orientation between August 21st and 23rd saw a series of talks and activities preparing incoming students for a year ahead, interspersed with small group discussions. One of these small group periods was the first activity of orientation. Participating as an incoming student in one of these circles, I saw how the discussion opened with a set of restorative circle rules. These rules boiled down to a warning to be open-minded. All viewpoints were expected to be heard, that you only have to take what you want from the circle and participate as wanted, at least nominally. After this show of inclusion, we as students were led to read aloud line by line and one by one from Adrian Brown's Radical Gratitude spell. Radical Gratitude spell. A spell cast upon meeting a stranger, comrade, or friend working for social and or environmental justice and liberation. You are a miracle walking. I greet you with wonder. In a world which seeks to own your joy and your imagination, you have chosen to be free. Every day is a practice. I can never know the struggles you went through to get here, but I know you have swum upstream, and at times it has been lonely. This is some crystal mommy bullshit indeed. I just put a spell on everybody in the chat. Brown herself ascribes to witchcraft, and it informs her public work. Her website describes her as someone who grows healing ideas in public through her writing, which includes short and long-form fiction, nonfiction, spells, tarot, and her music, which includes songwriting, singing, and immersive music rituals. Sounds horrible. Yeah, some kind of a poem. It wasn't any kind of a spell. Just some far-right nut jobs being stupid. This woman had to apparently leave her house in a towel after intruders broke in.
Jake! This young mom is wearing only a towel, and she is terrified.
Wow.
In the bathtub when a team of home invaders broke in. She's using her Ring cam to call her husband, who is at work 30 minutes away.
What's going on?
Call the police.
Call the police?
I was in the bath. I thought you were home. Someone brought her back to where these two guys walked in. I begged them not to hurt the kids. Leah Amberly is shaking. She had just put her two baby boys down for the night, and they are still inside the house. We spoke to Leah Amberly today.
Both of them stormed in. They were dressed in head to toe, all black. They were both wearing ski masks. The only thing I could see were their eyes from the slit that they had. I was fully naked. I stood up and I said, "Take whatever you want, just don't touch my babies. Here's my purse. Do not touch my babies."
She says she made a break for the front door.
Made a run for it, ran out the front door. I rang doorbell because it calls my husband's phone. And I was just praying with every ring that he would pick up because that was really my only chance to get help.
Her husband Jacob says he felt helpless. You could see your wife or just hear her?
I could see my wife.
If the kids took the dog.
Through the
you blame her?
Camera. It was absolutely terrifying just seeing her reaction, her overall demeanor. I just knew something was horribly wrong.
The incident in Allen, Texas happened a year ago, but is only now going viral after Leah posted it to a TikTok page called The Worst Night of My Life.
I was almost
On social media,
what?
Criticism for taking the family dog, but leaving the kids behind in their beds.
I don't know.
I think that's a little odd.
I fully thought I was going to get shot when I ran downstairs to get help. If I was holding both of my boys, I didn't want to risk them getting shot or hurt as well.
I'm not sure she was almost murdered. I don't blame her for taking the dog. I totally get the dog. You might need to call a cat or might need to call a cat. Yeah, I don't think she was almost murdered. We don't have any verification that the would-be thieves. We don't even really have any indication that there were thieves. We don't have any indication that they were armed. It's just her word. And she seemed a little hysterical. Not that I don't want to believe people. I was almost murdered on a TikTok. You might want to call the cops on this cat. Because he's apparently a klepto kitty. He's stealing women's panties? Was she under a spell? That's a good question. Texas residents be warned there is a thief on the loose. Is this Black Kitty? Those were panties. Likes to steal socks. A cat burglar. He stole somebody's loofah. A pair of little kids' pants. A crime spree. I'm well aware that cats are assholes. You don't have to tell me. Get somebody's hat. Cleo the klepto kitty. He has no remorse. I bet he doesn't. And he'll steal again. Yeah, it's a whole ring of them. It's a whole ring of black cats. Nobody knows. Cats love doing crime. They get away with it because they're so fucking cute. That's the problem. This is gonna be hilarious if I can do it. Because I'm a fucking shithead. Just saying. See, I made Rhizome very mad the other day. Motherfucker not even in there. I don't think he's even on camera. I was gonna raid into him just to like fuck with him. He's not even on camera right now. Another one of these stupid ass fucking streamers. Just put shit on. I'm gonna raid into you if you're not gonna fucking see me and acknowledge me. T minus. He got really pissed off at me the other day, and I wish I'd filmed it. I wish I'd recorded it, so I can make a video about it, because I'm an asshole like that. Made a new friend the other day. Let's right into her. Met her because Media Winch was on a panel with her, so we hang out with Nina. She's cool. I hung out with her the other day. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.